Go. Action.
Action. Make sure your screws are backed out.
Okay.
Now, this one fits on real snug. I like that. Sometimes when you take it off, you might have to sand this down a little bit. Don't get aggressive with it. Just sand it down a little bit so you can get the hook on. And what we'll do is, we just got the hook on. Now what we're going to do is take the needle all the way down.
Okay.
Right. And we know we got 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th line is clear up against the bushing. Now the machine rotates clockwise from the front. Hang on to the hook. Rotate it to the 4th line. Okay.
Okay.
Look at where the bushing was. Then you go to where the hook point was, where we smoothed it out.
Yeah.
And it should see where that cutout is.
See the cutout.
We're going to put that. You want it so it's just barely touching. You don't want it pushing. You don't want it too far away. You want it so it's just barely touching. Okay. Then, you know you have this right because there's always a screw right there. Always right there.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to set this here so I can see a little better. What I'll do is I'll snug this down. I'm not tightening it yet. I'm just snugging it. Then I'm going to go back and forth to see if it's pushing against the needle. I don't want it pushing against the needle. Okay? You see how it's just barely nicking? You see it barely nicking it? I know it's real hard to see.
Yeah.
But it's just barely nicking it. That's all we want. Now what we're going to do, put the positioning finger in, because we don't want that outer part to move. And it takes 9/64 Allen wrench. Sorry.
That's okay.
The hook on this points up, so it'll point into there. Always make sure that's pointing up. All right.
Okay.
And underneath there,
Yep.
there's a set screw hole.
Yep. I'd take that off. So this is, I'm still good with all this so far.
Okay. You don't want it in all the way. Okay. If it's in all the way, the thread won't go up through there. We normally put them in about 1/3 of the way. 1/3
Just
to
where
a half.
it's barely just catching that outside of that. Okay.
Yep. All it's doing is keeping that outer part from spinning around. Because if that spins around, it's going to bust your needle. And we're going to rotate it. I'm going to snug these screws. I'm going to snug all 3 of them. And we're spinning it around. I'm checking to make sure it's not hitting. You know, sometimes they'll nick right in here.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's normal, right? It depends on the placement of the head. But I'll also want to make sure that the needle is not pushing the needle out. A good habit to get into, you see how I'm past the shield? Go backwards. If it hits that shield, when you're going backwards, start all over.
That's where my problem was at. And that's where I couldn't get that exact thing to where that it was not rubbing on that outside edge of that when I'd bring
So
it
you
back
hit
around.
it too far forward.
Yep.
Then, if it's not stopping it and hitting it, then go ahead and tighten these screws up. Make sure you tighten these screws up. Since we had this all apart, I'm going to over oil it. There's, like I said, there's no oil in that alcohol. So we don't want you doing this. Not this much oil. All right?
Okay. Just 1 or 2 drops, right? Okay.
I'll
Now,
show you. Here's where we want you to put yours.
Yeah, that's where I want to know.
See right in here? There's, see how that outer part is
Right.
spinning around? The
Right.
inner part's, just put a drop.
Okay.
All right? That's all we want you to do. Just
Cool.
put a drop.
Okay. I think I've only done that once. I was mainly doing it up on top.
Then just put the throat plate back on and let it go to 10.